This is Trafalgar Square. The noise that you hear at the moment is the sound of the air raid siren.
Edward R. Murrow reporting on the Battle of Britain. 75 years later, Mark Phillips reports on the role a group of Americans played in Britain's finest hour.
They've become legends, the few, as Churchill called them, to whom so many owed so much. And among the barely 3,000 airmen who confronted the Nazi Luftwaffe as it tried to soften Britain up for a planned invasion, were a small, little-known, and actually illegal contingent of Americans. And in the anniversary flypast, the largest gathering of World War II aircraft since the war was this Spitfire, now owned by the historic flight charity in Seattle, and flown to honor the Americans by John Sessions.
It was a felony in the United States under the Neutrality Act to fight for the British at that point in time. So most of the Americans...
Because the U.S. was officially neutral. Somewhere between 9 and 11 Americans joined the battle. Nobody's sure because some hid their identities, pretending to be Canadians.
Some of them were only identified decades later through entries in squadron books with nicknames like Tex. You know, because they were officially Canadians.
Billy Fisk, though, was American through and through. A well-known Olympic gold medalist who joined a high-profile squadron. He died during the battle, perhaps the first American casualty of the war, and is buried in an English churchyard. He and the other American flyers were drawn by a desire to fight the Nazis and to fly these planes. The Spitfire is amongst the most revered war machines ever built. And to fly, even as a passenger in one these days, is to understand why. It's still both a weapon and a beautiful thing.
Once they were up here among the few, the Americans had little bearing on the outcome of the battle. But they did become part of a larger argument whether or not America itself would enter the war.
Churchill sent a wreath to Billy Fisk's funeral, hoping his death would stir American passions. Fisk and the others who were among the first to fight are now among the few and the honored. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Goodwood, England.